Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are taking a look at another one of these very cool Dinomania skeletal reconstruction models, and this one is the Triceratops. So, super awesome now to have another. This is my third Dinomania skeleton that I have in my collection. I actually have another one here to review very soon as well, but I am quite excited to take a look at this because so far I have the Spinosaurus and Brachiosaurus skeletons from Dinomania, and both have been really cool. So let's go ahead and get this Triceratops out of its packaging and start building this guy. And we are done. Now we have our Triceratops together and ready to look at here with you guys. I will say the kind of appearance of this reconstruction more sort of resembles like a vintage Triceratops as opposed to what we would believe Triceratops look like now, which is very interesting. You don't see that very often. You don't see kind of that old school look when it comes to skeleton replica models. It's just not something that is really often portrayed, but I really feel like that's sort of what we have here, and the stance of even the body, it's not like some of the others where they're articulated and you can maneuver the legs into position. This one, the legs are actually in position already, and this is the way it appears, and it kind of almost has like the appearance of like the Triceratops really planting its legs into the ground to kind of defend itself, and maybe it's even being pushed back a little bit and it's trying its hardest to sort of fend off something. And I really kind of get that feeling from the overall positioning of the body. I think that was a really cool touch by Dinomania to kind of give it a little bit of a look and sort of almost like an action pose going on with the figure overall. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get a closer look at it right now. Now, starting up here at the head sculpt of our Triceratops, again, just like pretty much usual when you see these Dinomania figures, a little piece of extra plastic right there. But you can see that the detailing of this skull is really nicely done. There is lots of sculpt work to be found within the skull of the Triceratops. The jaw is articulated, so you can have this kind of open or closed. The actual appearance of this almost reminds me of the Last Dinosaur Triceratops. If you've ever seen the film The Last Dinosaur, there is like a moment in that film where the Tyrannosaurus kind of uncovers a Triceratops that was sort of hiding in a mountain or buried in a mountain. I don't really know what the idea was behind that scene, but the overall sculpt of this almost reminds me of that Triceratops, which actually is really cool if you ask me, because that's one of my favorite childhood movies as far as dinosaurs go. To have something similar to that is really neat if you ask me. But again, looking at this side as well, you can see lots of really nice detailing on the skull of the Triceratops, and just like with the previous skeletal reconstructions, we have like a nice dark black type coloration, and then the paint has been applied with a nice dry brushing with like a goldish brown that kind of brings out all the detail of the skeleton in very realistic fashion, and I really love the way they do that. And again, you can see how like the feet are sort of planted like they're being pushed back, and maybe the Triceratops is trying to stop itself from being pushed back or something, or it's just in general in a very defensive position ready to stand its ground. You can even see the rear of the frill looks fairly nice as far as the detailing goes, and the actual skeleton here itself, as far as like the body goes, the ribs and everything, and the hip, it all looks really cool as far as the sculpt and detail goes, but also the paintwork, again with kind of that nice dry brushing, helps to give it a very flashy and very realistic, if you ask me, appearance. And I just drug his tail across the backdrop there, but very cool looking overall as far as both sculpt and paint. And again, having sort of that vintage Triceratops look to the skeleton is really cool if you ask me. Definitely something that I didn't expect. I kind of expected it to look like most skeletons do when it comes to dinosaur figures like this, and a little more like an updated Triceratops, but I actually think I prefer it this way than I would have had it been more of like a modern Triceratops look. I really do like this kind of vintage feel to it, and it's really quite nicely done, very easily put together, and overall actually quite a bit of fun to build, so I really do recommend these skeletons from Dinomania. As far as a size goes, for a length, you were looking at about 15.5 inches, somewhere in that range, or about 39.5 centimeters, and the highest point would be the back, a little over 7 inches, or about 18 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Dilophosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our extremely large Dinomania Triceratops skeleton, and you should definitely have a pretty good idea, again, of the sheer size of these figures, no matter what you are getting. If you are getting a skeleton, replica, or a very big dinosaur figure from Dinomania, it's going to come with some pretty darn good size to it, and you can continue to see that here with this Triceratops skeleton as well. So this Dinomania Triceratops skeleton is definitely really cool, but quite different than some of the others that I've seen in the past as far as these skeleton replicas go. The Spinosaurus, of course, being outdated, but it had a very Jurassic Park 3 feel to it, if you ask me. And then we had the Brachiosaurus skeleton as well, which just had like a pretty cool Brachiosaurus appearance to it. Maybe not the most accurate Brachiosaurus, but it was still pretty cool. And then we have this one. Now this one has a very vintage look to it, if you ask me. A very old school style to the Triceratops overall, and actually again very similar to the last dinosaur Triceratops. There's a goofy Triceratops in that film that kind of has this appearance to its body where it's almost like hunched over a little bit and just generally looks like a little bit of a silly Triceratops, and that's kind of like the way this appears, but at the same time it looks really cool. So I'm definitely quite impressed with the figure overall, and I really am quite excited to have this one now in my collection as well, making this my third Dinomania skeleton. Another really cool figure from the Dinomania line, really nicely sculpted, lots and lots of detail to be found, even including really cool aspects like cracks in the horns and everything, so they do add some realism to the figures, and I definitely think that's nicely shown throughout the sculpt of this Triceratops skeleton, and I think all the detail is brought out beautifully as per usual. When the Dinomania company releases a skeleton, they give it this very nice dry brushing over top of like a dark black or a dark brown with like this light goldish brown, and I think it brings the detail out really nicely, and in general makes it look quite realistic. Definitely a really cool addition again to the Dinomania line. I'm really liking these skeletons, and the last one that I have to review as far as the skeletons go is a Tyrannosaurus Rex, so I'm super excited to see that as well, especially as we haven't actually looked at any Tyrannosaurs from the Dinomania line, so really excited to take a look at that one. But another really cool skeletal replica from the Dinomania line. So if you would like to pick this up, I will include a link in the description to the Dinomania website where you can order this for yourself. So make sure you head down to the description, follow that link over to the Dinomania website, and pick up this very cool vintage old school Triceratops skeleton. And make sure you also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.